Hello, welcome. Let's look at this JAMB class questions, Physics 2018. Question number 1. A man walks 1 kilometer due east, then 1 kilometer due north. His displacement is A. Root 2 kilometer north 45 degrees east. B. 1 kilometer north 30 degrees east. C. 1 kilometer north 15 degrees east. D. Root 2 kilometer north 60 degrees east. So how do we go about solving this? Now, for us to be able to solve this, we need to first of all identify where the man is walking from. Because from the question we have a man walks 1 kilometer due east. So if we have this as the reference point, where this is north, this is west, this is east, and this is south. Now you have this man walking from here 1 kilometer east. This is east side. So he's going to walk straight down to this side 1 kilometer east. Then after walking 1 kilometer due east, he then walked 1 kilometer due north. So he's going to walk up north. This is the direction of the north because this is east, this is north. Up north, and it walked how many? Also 1 kilometer north. So that is the movement. Then it is asking us the displacement. So we pick also the cardinal point, the reference point of this north. So he has moved from here down to this place. So what is the displacement? Displacement is the actual distance from where he started down to where he stopped. So this is the displacement D, also known as the resultant. Because this is the total distance, you can also take this straight to this point instead of walking 1 kilometer down here, then from here 1 kilometer here. So this D is what we are required to find. So how do we find this D? Now this D, which we also call displacement, you can also call it R, is actually equal to, if you are given a rectangle triangle like this, and you're given these two sides, and you want to find this side, you can simply say that this side is equal to the root of what you have here squared, which is 1 squared, plus what we have here squared, which is another 1 squared. And this will give us root of 1 squared is 1, plus 1 squared is 1. So this will give us root of 2. So that is the distance. So you have root 2 kilometers is the distance. But whenever you're talking about displacement, you need to check both the distance and the direction. So the direction here we can find using tan theta, and tan theta, if you have here as the theta, the tan of this is simply this over this. So the direction to the north, which we know is 1, all over the direction to the east, which we also know is 1. So you have 1 over 1. And if you want to make theta the subject of the formula, theta alone will now be equal to inverse tan of 1 over 1. And the inverse tan of 1 over 1 is what? 45 degrees. Now, having this as 45 degrees, how do you mention the direction? It's simply north first. North 45 degrees east. Because it's going north, this is north, and this other direction is east. So if you are combining the whole thing now, you have so 2 kilometers or root 2 kilometers north 45 degrees east. So this is the complete answer. Then why do we have this? Because we all know that displacement, from the definition of displacement is actually a vector quantity. That's why you must put both the direction and the magnitude. So displacement is a vector quantity which denotes direction, very very important, direction and size. Size in this case is the magnitude. So every vector quantity has these two important things. Whenever you say that something is a vector quantity, it must have direction and it must have size. So displacement is a vector quantity. Displacement is a vector quantity which denotes direction and size, which has direction and size. So this is the right answer. So after calculating this with this formula, then you put the direction exactly the way I said it there. If it's south, then south has to come first before west. If it is north, north has to come before west. If it is northeast, north has to come before east. That's how you represent direction. Either the south or north must come first here before you have the other one. So from the options, we can see that option A is the right answer for this. Thank you. Hello, welcome. Let's look at this JAMB past question for Physics 2018. Question number 2. The density of 400 cm cube of palm oil was 0.9 gram per cm cube before frying. If the density of the oil was 0.6 gram per cm cube after frying, assuming no loss of oil due to spilling, its new volume was A. 360 cm cubed, B. 600 cm cubed, C. 240 cm cubed, D. 800 cm cubed. So how do we go about solving this? Now, for us to solve this, we need to know the formula for density. So density is simply the ratio of mass all over volume. That is what density is. Now, we were told that there is no change in the mass. There is no loss of oil due to spillage. That means the mass remains constant. So for the first case, we have D1, which is the density here, to be equal to M1, which is the mass, all over V1, which is the volume. For the second case, we have D2, which is this density here, equal to M1, M2, which is also equal to M1, then V2, which is what you are calculating. But now, from this, if we make M1 the subject of the formula, you have M1 to be equal to D1 times V1. Whereas from here, if you make M2 the subject, you have M2 equal to D2 times V2. But they say there is no loss of oil. This simply implies that M1 is equal to M2. So if M1 is equal to M2, that means that D1 V1 is equal to D2 V2. Now you know what D1 is, you know what V1 is, you you know what D2 is, but you don't know what V2 is. So make V2 the subject. So we have V2 is equal to D1 V1 all over D2. So this is equal to D1 is what? We know that D1 is 0.9 times. What is V1? V1 is 400 all over. What is D2? D2 is 0.6. So if you press your calculator, or if you multiply 0.9 times 400 all over 0.6, then you should be able to get the right answer. And the right answer is 600 cm cubed. So that makes B the right option, 600 cm cubed. So notice we started from the formula for density. We made M the subject of the formula because they say there is no loss in mass. That means the two M has to be equal. So we equated them. And the equation of this and this simply means that this is equal to this. So we equated them here and made V2 that we're looking for the subject. Then we get 600. That is how you go about solving equations as this. Thank you. Yes, let's look at this JAMB past question for Physics 2018. Question number 3. Which of the following is true of an electric charge? A. Positive charge means deficit electrons. B. Negative charge means excess electrons. C. Electric current means movement of electrons. D. All of the above. Now, for us to understand this very well, we need to first of all understand what electric charge is, or what current electricity is. Current electricity. Now I'm going to start with this one. Current electricity is simply the flow of electrons or flow of charges. Flow of electrons. And we also know that electrons are charged or charges. They are charged negatively. Now, in an atom we have electrons and we have protons. The electrons are negatively charged and the protons are positively charged. So when you have excess of this electron that is negatively charged, you expect a negative charge. When this one is in excess, there has to be negative charge. Overall charge will be negative. But when these protons that are positive are in excess, then you expect it to be overall positive charge. When this one that is negative is excess, it will be negative. When it is not enough, when it is deficit, it will then be positive. So for this first statement, that positive charge means deficit electron, that is true. When there is less deficit of this electron that is negative, there will be more of this positive charge. So this is true. Then negative charge means excess electron. Of course, that is true. When there is plenty of these electrons that are negative, then it has to be negative charge overall. So this is true. Now, electric current is the movement of electrons. From this other definition, this is true. So all of the above should be the general answer that is true. So that makes the subject, the answer to the question. So for electric charges, positive charge means deficit electrons, negative charge means excess electrons, electric current means movement of electrons. Then D, all of the above. All of the above is correct because all these three go true for electric charge. So for electric charge, like I said, the electrons are negatively charged. So when they are in excess, you expect a negative charge. The protons are positively charged. So when the electrons are in excess, you expect a negative charge. When they are deficit, which is opposite of excess, you expect a positive charge. Then electric current is also the movement of electrons. So all these three are correct. So D is the right answer for this. Thank you. Now let's look at this JAMB pass question for Physics 2018. Question number 4. Natural radioactivity consists of the emission of A. Alpha particles and beta rays, B. Alpha particles and X rays, C. Alpha particles, beta and gamma rays, D. Y rays and X rays. Now, for us to understand this very well, we need to know the definition of natural radioactivity. And we'll have that natural radioactivity is the spontaneous disintegration. Natural radioactivity is the spontaneous disintegration or splitting. You can call it disintegration or you can call it splitting. Splitting up or breaking down. You can also call it breaking down of the nucleus of a radioactive atom with the emission of alpha particles, beta particles or rays, and gamma radiation. With a great deal of energy. With a great deal of energy. When such a radioactive atom is exposed to the atmosphere or buried in the ground. So that is what natural radioactivity is. The spontaneous disintegration, that's the breakdown of radioactive atoms like rhodium and like uranium and all the rest of them, with the emission of alpha, beta, and gamma rays. So if you look at this, you see that number C has alpha, beta, there's gamma rays, but it's represented here with G, but this is actually gamma rays. So that makes the option that has the complete specification of all the particles that are emitted, alpha, beta, and gamma rays. Those are the things that are given out or emitted. Those are the emissions during natural radioactivity, which is the spontaneous decay or spontaneous disintegration of the nucleus of a radioactive atom. So C is the right answer. And this is the complete definition of natural radioactivity. Thank you. Yes, let's look at this JAMB past questions, Physics 2018, question number 5. Which of the following does not describe the image formed by a plane mirror? A. Erect. B. Laterally inverted. C. Same distance from mirror as object. D. Magnified. Now, for us to appreciate this question very well, we need to look at the properties of image formed in a plane mirror. So we need to know this. If we know these properties, then it will be easier for us to be able to identify the answer. Now, we look at the properties of images formed in a plane mirror, which is the question here, so that we can identify from the options that we have here the one that is not there. Now, the following are their properties. They are, number 1, erect. Number 2, they are laterally inverted.